When you're going through hell and everything is going against you, the easiest thing in the world to do is to start thinking negative.
It's easy to go through life holding on to things that are weighing us down. Guilt, resentment, doubt, worry. The problem is when we allow these things in, they're taking up space for the good things that should be there. Imagine your life is like a container. You were created to be filled with joy, peace, confidence, creativity. But if you allow worry in, it pushes out the peace. There's not space for both. You can't go above 100%. You have a limited amount of room. If you allow guilt to take up space, that's space that you don't have for the confidence you need.
Most people will let their present physical results control their way of thinking. They're emotionally involved in it. They think it's an accident that the same results keep reoccurring. That's no accident. If you've got a financial problem, if you've got a cash flow problem, if you've got a marital problem, that's what most people concentrate on. If a doctor takes a photograph of your body and then tells you you're sick and shows you you're sick, what's the person concentrate on? Sickness. What's the photograph prove? The photograph proves that the person has been concentrating on something wrong to move their body into that vibration. What should they do? They should ask for help. Where does it come from? There's only one source, and they see perfect health, or they see prosperity. But the cynics don't believe this. And it's a strange thing, the cynics don't get results either. Quit letting your present results control your thinking.
Don't let life change your name. Don't let it change your name. Don't you be nasty just because they're nasty. Don't you be hateful just because they're hateful. Don't you be vengeful just because they're vengeful. Don't lose yourself in your situation. Don't let your situation eat up yourself.
You've got to get grounded. You've got to train your mind to serve you. Meditation is one of the ways in which you can do that. Reading is one of the ways that you can do that. Listening to music is one of the ways that you can do that. Exercise is one of the ways in which you can do that. Things that you can do to still your mind, to clear your thoughts so you can think.
Change the way you see yourself and begin to tend to the personal details. If you trust yourself, if you believe and don't doubt in everything in you, you can do it. You can do it. When you say a situation, a person is hopeless, you're slamming the door in the face of God. There's no guarantee that because somebody is now down on their luck, they can never come back. Who can guarantee that you can't make, that you can't have your dream? All we need to do is we look at our dreams. As we get ready to hit the floor, I'm blessed and highly favored. Don't let circumstances turn you around. Don't let hard times turn you around. Whatever you're experiencing, you know that this too shall pass. That you have the ability to make it happen. Why? You got a sense of entitlement. I deserve this, and whatever I have to do, I'm willing to step up and to face life and grab it in a collar and say, give it up, because it's mine.
People think there is something called as negative thought and positive thought. They want to remove the negative thoughts and have only positive thoughts. For such people, I would ask them to just experiment for 10, 15 seconds. Let them forcefully remove one thought from their mind. For example, next 10 seconds, just don't think of a monkey. Try not to think of a monkey. For next 10 seconds, you will see you will be full of monkeys. So what I am saying is, this is the nature of your mind, because in this mind all the 3 pedals are throttle. There is no brake, there is no clutch. Whatever you touch, it will only go faster. In this kind of mind, people have been taught from moral teachers and religious teachers, do not think about bad things. Well, since then it's been a full-time job. So there is no way you can handle the mind like this. This doesn't need any great enlightenment. If you spend 2 minutes with your eyes closed, you will realize you cannot do anything forcefully with this mind. So, I want to remove negative thoughts. Do not ever go in this direction, because what you want to remove will become your quality. Always you will be on it. So, what should I do? The thing is this: without understanding the fundamental mechanism of this mind, because our mind Human mind is the most sophisticated computer on the planet. Even all the supercomputers have come out of this. When this is the case, is it not important that we understand the mechanics of how it functions? One simplistic aspect of how it functions is there are no subtractions and divisions in our mind. There is only addition and multiplication. If you try to do something with it, it will say one more. If you try hard, it will multiply into many more. In this mind, you don't try to identify what is positive, what is negative, and try to remove it. First of all, one needs to understand this mind of yours. This body of yours is supposed to serve you. The life that you are is important. Body and mind are vehicles that must serve us. If you sit in a vehicle, it must go where you want to go. If it goes to its own destination, what is the point of such a vehicle? It's just a nuisance. Right now, most human beings are unfortunately experiencing this fantastic possibility of human mind as a nuisance, as a troublesome thing. Well, this is the most beautiful thing you have. There is something called as you which exists. This is not a composite of all your thoughts and emotions and physiological processes. Beyond that, there is you. If you close your eyes, even if you cannot see anything, you're still there. It is through the window of your eyes that you are looking out. But if you close your eyes, it doesn't mean that you don't exist. You still exist. So beyond your thought, you still exist. Beyond your emotion, you still exist. So that you, the life that you are, this has to come into your experience. Why is it that you're not allowing that to come into your experience, which is the most significant aspect of who you are? Who you are right now, the most significant aspect is you and me are alive right now. This is it. What I'm thinking, what you're thinking is not the important thing. We are alive right now. That is the important thing. So it is important that you focus on this fundamental sense of aliveness within you. And then you will see there is a natural distance between you and your thought process. Once there is a distance between your psychological process and your physiological process, this is the end of suffering. Because there are only two kinds of suffering that human beings go through: physical suffering and mental suffering. Once you create a little space between you and your mind, between you and your body, this is the end of suffering. This is something every human being has to experience and know, otherwise thinking, I will just remove negative thoughts and I will have positive thoughts. All the best, it's not going to work. 100% it's not going to work, because nobody can remove it. They can avoid it for some time. So when negative thoughts come, you say whatever you want, but this is just avoiding, it's not gone. The moment you stop that, it will pop back with great force. Otherwise, it will come back in your dreams. So it's very important. First of all, you need to understand your anger, your resentment, your fear, your anxieties, the negativity that you generate. Generally resentment, anger, it is always directed towards somebody. But we need to understand this is poisons that we are drinking and expecting somebody else to die. Fortunately, life doesn't work like that. If I drink poison, I die. If I drink poison, you don't die. So we need to understand this. When I say poison, today you can have yourself chemically analyzed right now. What is your blood work? What it says, 5 minutes of intense anger. Check your blood work and see. There will be lots of negative elements in it. Literally, you're poisoning yourself. So do you want to poison yourself? Definitely not. Now the very question is coming from certain helplessness. What shall I do? Don't do anything. Just sit back and just concern yourself with something which is the life process. Maybe your heartbeat, maybe your breath, maybe just the sensation of being alive. Depending upon how sensitive or how perceptive you are, accordingly, find something. It could be a sensation in the body, it could be breath, it could be heartbeat, it could be anything, something which indicates life to you. Just pay attention to that for some time. Slowly, you will see there is a distinction between what is you and what you have gathered, which includes both your physiological and psychological possibility or mess, whatever you've made out of it.
You're not bright enough. You waited too late. You should have started younger. Those are the kind of voices that we all live with. For me, our ministry was growing. We lived in a nicest house we'd ever had. Driving a nice car, living from paycheck to paycheck, but making it. Every night, I lay down at night, I hear the voices. Those voices are the kind of voices that stop you from buying into your own life. Stop you from enjoying the good times and believing that they will last. The anxiety and the pressure and the strength that it took to get from where you were to where you are doesn't go away, so you don't really believe it's yours. You're driving it, but you don't really believe it's yours. And you're scared to relax and really rest in whatever it is or whoever it is. And the enemy always has some sort of tool or memory or situation that he uses to terrify you, even though the good times are here and the dream is there, and the blessing is there, and the goodness is there. But there's always this haunting, nagging defiance that says, don't you relax. You're not worth it. You don't deserve it. And it's not going to last. Resting in what God has done is often more difficult than receiving what God has done. To rest in it, to believe that it will last. To believe that you will last, that love will last, that life will last, that good times will come, that things will be better. It's difficult because of the voices. And you are what you eat, and the voices are the food that feeds your faith or fear. You see those voices that say what you can't do, what you can't have, what you can't be, what's not gonna last, what's not gonna work, is how the enemy pulverizes the promises of God in your life. And it takes word to combat word. That's why when Jesus was in the wilderness and Satan was throwing word at him, he was throwing word back. And what we have to do is put word on word. I'm blessed. I'm blessed in the city. I'm blessed in the field. I'm blessed in my uprising. I'm blessed in my downsetting. I'll be blessed into my old age. I'll be blessed when I'm an old man. My grandchildren will be blessed. My body is blessed. My mind is blessed. My head is blessed. I got this. I can handle it. I can do it. Bring it on. Here it is. That kind of talk, saying that to yourself, drives back the other voices of negativity that we all have creep up behind us and tell us that we're not capable and we're not competent and we're not gifted enough and we're not good enough, or we waited too late, or God is punishing us.
You're going to have sometimes low moments when you won't want to get out of bed. You just want to stay there. At times you won't want to come out the house. It's hard living. Life is hard. It's hard handling just the tragedies of life. It's hard when you're working on something and you put everything you have in it, and it doesn't work out. You lose your money and other people's money. It's hard. You will go through things, and while you're going through them, you can't understand why it's happening to you.
See, the point is, you don't know how much future you've got. What's gone is gone. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Some of you have had divorces. Some of you have probably had bankruptcies. Some of you have had terrible things happen in the past. But what's gone is gone. It's in the past. And to spend your time focusing on the past is to spend the only thing that you've got, and that's what's right here, right now, because the sand never stops running. This is all we've got. And to spend your time now thinking of what happened there is making absolute certain that the future is going to be the same as the past. I don't suppose many of us spend a lot of time thinking about that, but a lot of us spend a lot of time making that error.
Now you can either accept that or you can get to work. That's all it is. You just begin. You do the math, you solve one problem, and you solve the next one.
Whatever drama you may be dealing with, this is not the end of you. No matter what it is not the end. You can't quit now. And the only way out is through.
All you do is you fall down, get back up again, fall down, get back up again, fall down, get back up again. That's how you win.
You got to be bold in life, ladies and gentlemen. If you're not bold, if you're not standing up inside yourself, if you're not willing to call into being the highest and the strongest that's within you when you're facing life's challenges, life will trample you. But see, when you discover the truth of this goodness, this power that you have within you, that truth will set you free from ever being a victim in life. That truth will enable you to handle things with a level of equanimity that will surprise you. Getting unstuck means that you are going to start living life on your terms, rather than just gliding through every day on automatic. That you have a special power within, that you know that things are going to get better for you. You know that you can handle this. And because you want some different kind of results in your life, you've got to decide that I'm going to go all out.
Now listen to me. I don't care what you're going through. If you're not dead, he ain't through with you yet. As long as you waking up, you still in the game. As long as you alive, you can still make it happen. As long as that breath in your nostrils move, you still in the game. You still can win. Now get your butt up. Why do you keep crying? Why me, God? Why did I get MS? Why did I get cancer? Why did my mama die? Why did I get fired? Listen, you got put through that because what that does, that tension produces greatness. Stop running from it and run to it. Lions don't cry. Lions don't give up. Lions don't quit. Lions hunt. That's what we do for a living. We turn tragedy into triumph.
You'll never obtain any substantial measure of material wealth if you insist upon living your life as if you are looking back through your rearview mirror on your automobile. Nevertheless, it seems to be a very common error which many people have turned into a habit. Let the dead bury the dead. Let it go. I don't care how bad it was, let it go. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when you look back in retrospect at that terrible thing that's happened, you're going to find it was probably one of the best things that ever happened to you. Advancement of all kinds is preceded by a crisis. The greater the crisis, the greater the opportunity for advancement. Or you could put it another way. You could say, out of all confusion comes order. A higher degree of order than that which existed prior to the confusion. Because you see, the confusion was a learning state. Remember, I was pointing out that business is fun. It really is. I see business as a game. It's a game we're playing, and we play to win. And when we're winning, we're having fun. And when we're losing, we're learning. Let's treat both of the experiences exactly the same. They're learning experiences. Now we say, remember the old adage which says, let the dead bury the dead. Stop looking back on your life and worrying about the things which have already occurred and which you can no longer alter. That's like trying to change the time you got out of bed this morning. You're never going to be able to do it. That stands for eternity. You cannot go back and change it, since you cannot let it go. Pursuing that kind of mental activity will never lead to anything worthwhile, any worthwhile accomplishment in your life. You should understand, moreover, that all accomplishments in your life, you should understand, moreover, that all of the great achievers of the past have been visionary figures. They did with their life what, like Scott was saying, he does with his music. He heard it in here. They see their life in here. They're building visions of a great future. We've got a vision of a great company. We've already got a great company. We want a better one. We serve a lot of people. We want to serve more. And as we do, we receive greater rewards. Because we receive greater rewards, we become more comfortable, more creative, we can provide more service. It's a beautiful cycle that we're in. Looking into the past is a self-doom fulfilling cycle. You just keep getting it worse, worse, worse. We've all done it, so we know what it's like. These visionary figures were men and women who projected into the future, and they did not belabor over things which had already passed. They thought of what could be rather than what already was, and then they moved themselves into action to bring these things into fruition.
If there were tips for success, everybody would have been successful. There are no tips for success. Only those who are not so successful, or those who are not successful, think somewhere if you read 10 points in a book, you're going to be successful. We need to understand this. If you want to be successful, don't seek success. What you seek is competence. If you enable yourself, and if you do something well, other people will say you're a success. If you think, I'm a success, it's foolish, isn't it? You're doing something, and you're doing it well. Other people in the town, or in the country, or in the world, people will say, oh, he is doing something really successful. They're looking up to you. That's fine. You look up to yourself. That's madness, okay? You don't seek success. You seek empowerment, you seek competence, you do it the best that you can do. You cannot do as well as somebody, but you can do the best that you can do. So if you do your best, if your best is good enough, the world will recognize. If it is not, you will be happy. So what does success look like? What does it take? Well, you know, I know family and friends who always have their breakfast on time. And after breakfast, of course, they must have coffee. After coffee, of course, they must light up a cigarette and sit there nicely because they're trying to become peaceful. And then they will go to work, come back home exactly on time for lunch, eat lunch, rest for 1 or 2 hours, sleep, then evening have 1 tea, and then smoke, and then again go to work. And at 8 o'clock, 8:30, they're back home for dinner, and then maybe other things, drink and this and that and whatever. But those who have been very successful, either in music, sport, art, business, spiritual process, doesn't matter what, those people never know when they ate, when they slept, when they got afternoon rest. So, those who are committed to being successful with whatever they're doing, one important aspect of their life is they're not settling down wherever it's a bit comfortable. Because comfort will happen when they lower you too in the grave. Very comfortable you are, you know. Right now, it's about ensuring that there is profoundness of experience and there is impactfulness of activity. Because if they had given you a limitless amount of time, you could do all those things. Nothing wrong, I'm not against them. But they gave you such little time with such tremendous potential of being human. That's the problem. For every one of you, your life is precious, isn't it? It's a precious life. If something is precious, where do you want to invest this life? Because what you call as my life is just a certain amount of time and energy, isn't it? As you sit here, your life is ticking away, or no? What is ticking away is not time. What is ticking away is your life. So this energy that you call as my life, how are you going to invest it? Because if you're doing something truly worthwhile, it gets over before you know what happened. Only if you're doing something worthless, it feels like a long life. Have you noticed this? On a particular day when you're very happy, 24 hours, poof. It went off like that, like a moment. You are miserable, 24 hours feels like 10 years. Have you not noticed this? So, only miserable people will have a long life. Joyful people, life goes away like that as if it's a couple of days. It passes away like that if you are creating what you really care to create. So, one thing that every young person should do is, without the influence of the peers of your own age group, without the influence of your professors and your parents, without any kind of influence, somewhere you must stay by yourself at least for 2-3 days and look at it. What is it that I want? To invest this precious life into. What is it that will be worthwhile today and worthwhile after 50 years for me to invest myself into? You invest your life into that Whatever it is, however small, big, it doesn't matter. If you see that this is something truly worthwhile and you invest your life in that, this will be a life of fulfillment.
What to do when right goes wrong? Is there any justifiable reason for my heart being broken? Is there any purpose in my pain? Can you make sense out of my sadness? Or did I just go through all of that for nothing?
It's about the obstacles. It's about the challenges. It's about the pain that you endure along the way. Stand on the platform, but when that happens, your mind has to immediately shift back, because now you felt and tasted something that you could only get through winning. Are you willing to do it again?
If you're willing to suffer, and I mean suffer, your brain and your body, once connected together, can do anything.
You have to do the process. The process is non-negotiable. It's just, you have to do it. It's about the grind.
Do you have the courage to think? Because if you can think, you can change. You can move, you can evolve, you can grow, you can become. You are one idea away. Your credit is not a problem. Your car is not a problem. Your situation is not a problem. Your thoughts are the problem. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Everything starts in the thoughts you think. You are no better than the thoughts you think. If you think little, you go little. If you think weak, you go weak.
What I need you to do is I need you to find a reason to keep going. And if you can find a reason to keep going, I know you're strong enough. Every human has what it takes to get past whatever they're going through if they decide to.
If you want to level up your character, then you need to get out here and do it. That's the game. Go look in the mirror right now. Humble yourself. Stop sitting there with an ego. Realize you ain't shit. You need to be around brave men. You need to be paying attention. Listen to the truth. I wasn't born this way. I absolutely not really made myself this way. And any single one of you men out here can do the same thing.
If you're a man, you have duty, you have honor, you have things you should be doing regardless of how you feel. You should get up and do what needs to be done.
And to me, those are the individuals that win in life. I'm asking you, will you stay mediocre for the rest of your life?
Success happens to you not because you desire it, because you earn it. Everybody desires it. It comes only if you're capable of it. You know, we say in yoga, if you keep one eye on the goal, you have only one eye to find your way. That's not a good way to play a game. It's better both your eyes are on the game. The winning the cup and the accolades are things which happen because we play a game well. It's not because we want them, it'll happen. Because we play well, it happens. So it's always best that we keep our eyes, our body, our mind, everything focused on just one thing. That is when a human being functions at his maximum efficiency. If everything is focused in one way, your body, your energy, your mind, everything is organized in just one direction. A person who's going in one direction will go somewhere. A person who's trying to go in 5 different directions will not go anywhere. For one who is seeing this life as a stepping stone for a larger possibility, for him, there is no failure. For one who is looking at the simple events of this life itself as the goal of life, for him, there is failure and success. If you are just seeing this life as a stepping stone for a larger possibility, if you have a good deal, you use that for your well-being. If you have a bad deal, you use that for your well-being. The economy was on the boom when every fool could be successful. When the economy is on the boom, everybody gets carried, isn't it? Now there has been a meltdown. Now it takes something else to be successful. It doesn't matter what the hell happens with your life. If you are seeing this life only as a stepping stone for a larger possibility, then whatever the situation, it is beautiful and very useful. So various situations in your life, either you can use it to make yourself stronger and better, or you can sit and cry. This is the choice you have. Everything. It doesn't matter what happens. The most horrific event happened in your life that also can be used for your growth and your well-being. So the fear of failure. Failure is bad enough. Fear is adding spice to it, isn't it?
I'll give you a formula. If you want to know what makes people happy at the most basic level, when your life conditions match your blueprint, when your life conditions are what you're expecting, not your ultimate dream, but when you meet your basic expectations, you're happy. If your life conditions are better than you expected, you're over the moon. If your life conditions don't match your blueprint, your expectations, you have pain. If your life conditions don't match your blueprint and you believe I'm unable to change it, it's something wrong with me, or it's a permanent problem, or it's pervasive, or it's personal, you get into learned helplessness, then you're going to suffer. And so nothing is permanent, not even the body is permanent. Certainly no problem is permanent. Your soul might be the only thing that might be permanent, right? So it's really helping people to understand that when the life conditions change, your blueprint has to change with it. Either if you're not happy, you either have to change your life or change your blueprint, your expectations. Usually it requires a combination of those two. So often what you say people is slighting is their life conditions changed, and then what they were doing wasn't enough to make them feel the way they wanted to feel, and so then they adapted to an old style of coping. They went back to smoking or drinking or eating or yelling at people or whatever the pattern may be. But that's because they didn't continue to grow. And so that's why it's not a static thing with me. I teach people not just, okay, you're going to make these changes in your values. It's like, you got to look as your life conditions change. You're going to make that happen. As you hit different stages of life, you're going to have to make those decisions. And everybody wants their life to be better, but no one wants to change, right? So we have to keep changing as the life conditions change. We got to update our blueprint, our values, our beliefs, our rules about how to play the game. And we have to update our behaviors to adapt to where the environment is. If you don't do that, you're in trouble. There are many people during COVID who it was the most horrific experience. There are many people that learned to use COVID, not like COVID used them. They grew their businesses, they expanded their mind, they shifted their emotions. They did things they never would have done. Other people gained 20 pounds, right? So it's all a matter of, do you adapt to the life conditions? And do you learn how to learn? Because this isn't a one-time thing. Oh, I did this thing. I went and worked out for a weekend. Now I'm pumped. Well, great. How long is that going to last? You're going to have to continue to use that and have a daily practice. Otherwise, you, of course, go back. And that's the biggest missing thing. I teach people daily practices that can take what they've learned and make it ongoing in their life, as opposed to, wow, I had this great weekend.
The big question is, are we letting ourselves become what we wish to become? In this most important subject of association, here are some actions you may want to take. First, disassociation. You may, after a study of those 3 questions, who am I around, what are they doing to me, and is that okay, you may come to the serious conclusion that there are some people you just have to break away from. I'm not saying that it's an easy step to take, and it's not to be taken lightly. However, I am saying it may be an essential task. You may just have to make that hard choice not to let certain negative influences affect you anymore. Remember, it could be a choice that saves the quality of your life. The second action you may want to take is limited association. It could well be that you are spending too much time in a certain area of your life with a certain group of people. It's easy to put time and effort in the wrong place. The guy spends 3 hours at the ball game and 30 minutes listening to the sermon. See, that's called out of balance. 30 minutes for spirituality, 3 hours for entertainment. That doesn't weigh well 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when you take a look at the sum total of your values in your life. Here's one of the easy ways to end up with a mediocre average life: spending major time on minor things. Sophisticated people learn to weigh everything before they spend time or money. You've got to weigh before you pay. Whether you're going to spend heavy time or light time, you've just got to weigh. Otherwise, if you're not careful, you can get trapped into spending heavyweight time with lightweight people. Now, it's okay to have casual friends, as long as you give them casual time, not serious time. Spend major time with major influence, and minor time with minor influence. It's so easy to do just the opposite, but don't let it be said that you fell into that trap. So maybe all you need to do to change some of the influences in your life is not to eliminate them, but merely limit them. Say, I have a good time with these people, but I'm not going to spend days and days with them anymore. I'm just going to cut that down and save some of that time for more major people and more major enterprises. Remember, it's your life. You can spend your time with whomever you want and whenever you want. But you didn't invest in this program for me to kid you. Take a look at your priorities and your values. We have so little time at our disposal. Wouldn't it make sense to invest it wisely? If you have only $100 in your pocket, it's okay to spend $20 for fun and put $80 toward your important values and commitments. But would you be happy reversing those percentages? Better to put the majority of your money where you know it will get you a positive return, rather than put it where the taste is brief and the results are poor. Of course, you must be the judge. You must determine whether the situation and the people call for disassociation or limited association. But remember, if it isn't taking you where you want to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, now is the time to fix it.
If you really want to escape the things that harass you, what you're needing is not to be in a different place, but to be a different person.
Don't do nothing. That's a big mistake, because all you do is get older and weaker and you withdraw more. And so even if you don't know what to do, pursuing nothing is a very bad idea. You have no hope then, because hope comes from pursuit, and you're anxious because you need to specify a path. So you have no hope and you're anxious if you do nothing. So nothing is not the answer.
Because if you don't start changing your attitude, you will miss your altitude. The problem is not the conditions, it's the discipline. There is no shortcut to excellence. And your problem is you're not intentional and deliberate. You wake up on Monday and you might be strong, but by Wednesday, you're not intentional and deliberate. You are hoping that the best is going to happen to you, and the best never happens to you.
Defeating those negative instincts that are out to defeat us is the difference between winning and losing.
That idea isn't going to execute itself. That book isn't going to write itself. Those weights out in the gym, they aren't going to move themselves. You have to do it, and you have to do it now. You have to fight back against procrastination. When you feel that hesitation, get hyper aggressive. Kick in that door and bust into that room. Go. Do not wait. Take that first step and make it happen. You initiate action. You go. No more bowing down to whatever unhealthy or unproductive thoughts float through my mind. No more waiting for the perfect moment, and no more indecision, and no more lies.
You don't want to go run? You go run. You don't want to go swim? You go swim. You don't want to study? You can study. That's how you start to callous your mind. It's going to suck. It's not going to be fun. Do something that sucks every single day of your life. That's how you grow.
Whatever it is I want, this price is going to get much higher than this. It's going to get harder than this. And I've decided in advance it's going to be difficult, and I've decided in advance to stay in. I'm going to stay in the hunt. I'm going to stay fighting. I'm going to stay busting it. I'm going to pay the price until I get what it is that I deserve.
The people in life that win play offense, not defense. Stop backing into everything. Stand up. Bow your back a little bit. Start to walk a little different. Start to be that best version of you.
It's you. You're going to determine the outcome of your life. You're going to determine whether or not your life is exciting or whether or not it's boring.
You look at your life. You look at what you produce. Is it giving you what you want? Are you living on purpose? Are you living your dream? Are you acting on your ideas? Are you doing all you can do? Have you gotten comfortable? Are you challenging yourself? Are you experimenting? Are you learning something different? Is your life an adventure, or is it boring? You got some idea, some dream that you might have to go back and brush it off and look at it again and say, I've got to do this. This is my stuff. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is why I showed up. Where are you going with your life?
Let us prepare our minds as if we'd come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day. The one who puts the finishing touches on their life each day is never short of time. Not to feel exasperated or defeated or despondent because your days aren't packed with wise and moral actions, but to get back up when you fail, to celebrate behaving like a human, however imperfectly, and fully embrace the pursuit that you've embarked on. Suppose that a God announced that you were going to die tomorrow or the day after. Unless you were a complete coward, you wouldn't kick up a fuss about which day it was. What difference could it make? Now recognize that the difference between years from now and tomorrow is just as small.
I've seen what happens in the brain. You're going to make your brain worse. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make my inner world more real than my outer world. And some days are easier than others. But I'm not going to give up. I'm just not. I mean, if I'm going to carve out some time, then I'm all in, step by step. You can't get impatient doing this. You can't get frustrated doing this. You can't get resentful doing this. You can't force it or control it doing it. I've seen what happens in the brain. You're going to make your brain worse. So sooner or later, you start figuring out that isn't it. And all of a sudden, you start following the instructions. And you start going, wow, that was really easy. What was I doing up to this point? Everything but the formula. You were doing everything else but the formula. Doing it your way, analytical mind telling you to quit, it's too hard, you'll never get it. Yeah, those are the exact things that are standing in the way between you and your future. And every time you become conscious that you do that and you settle back down, that's a victory.
There's two skills you got to master to have life on your terms. To have an extraordinary life, to me, an extraordinary life is life on your terms. That's not my life. It's what is it for you? For some people, that's, a white picket fence and 3 children. For some people, it's building a big business. For some people, it's being an author. It's like so many different things, poetry, music. So everybody's got to find what it is that they really love. But the skills you got to master to have life on your terms is, one, the science of achievement. That's what you're describing. How to take what I envision and make it real. And those are strategies, and they are proven strategies. There are certain rules of the game. If you want to be healthy and you want a lot of energy, everyone's biochemically slightly different, but there's certain rules. If you violate them, you're going to have low energy and dis-ease. If you align with them, you're going to have enormous energy and strength. Same thing around finance. Anyone can grow financially, but most people don't learn the basic fundamentals. And so they're missing the strategy. So that's strategy driven, and I spend a good portion of my life teaching people that. But then the second part is what creates lasting fulfillment. And lasting fulfillment, as you said, I always say progress equals happiness. If we're not making progress, we're not happy. But it doesn't require progress every moment and noticing it either. That's another catch-all. That's my lifestyle and your lifestyle, right? Our lifestyle is the formula that you described. But the really ultimate formula besides progress is appreciation, because you can make progress and then always have to make progress each moment to be happy. So we do need to grow. What you said is true fundamentally. Everything in the world grows or dies. Everything in the universe contributes, or it's eventually eliminated, by nature. So those aren't my laws. Those are the laws of nature. However, happiness only requires that you are grateful. If you've got $1 billion and 3 beautiful children that love you and a beautiful husband or wife, but it doesn't matter what you have if you're not grateful. If you live in an emotional home, habitual pace of worry or frustration, your life's called worry and frustration. So you could be making progress and still be worried and frustrated. So it isn't quite just what you said. You have to also develop a new decision that says, I'm going to live a different life. I have a vision for my life spiritually, and that vision spiritually is I'm going to live in a beautiful state no matter what. That doesn't mean I'm never going to get upset or frustrated or pissed off. It just means I got a 90-second rule that I'm going to get out of that as fast as possible and solve it from a beautiful place so that I'm adding value to the people around me and myself. So my own biochemistry gets the benefit of that. And so that doesn't mean that you're always making progress. I love progress. I think progress equals happiness, but it isn't the only secret to that. It's really, can you train your brain to appreciate Because in the middle of whatever you're pissed off about or frustrated or fearful about or worried about, you're deleting all the things you could be grateful for, you could appreciate that are absolutely real. And that's the problem with the mind. And, you know, I want your listeners or viewers to really think about this. You do not experience life. You experience the life you focus on. That's it. If you focus on what's wrong is always available. So is what's right. And so our focus produces our meanings and emotions, which produce the actions of our life. So it really starts with the patterns of your focus. Do you tend to focus on what you have or what's missing? Most achievers that are looking to make progress, I've dealt with millions of them over the years, as you all know. I'm one, you're one, right? Most achievers, that progress thing is really important. They're like, oh, we've got to have the next thing. And well, that's really wonderful, but it's only one way of doing things. And so it's like saying to yourself, wait a second, I'm going to, whether there's progress or not, I'm going to find the good in this. I'm going to find the great in this. And what that does is it produces a different fuel to live your life from. And from that fuel, it's easy to make progress. You know, I used to tell myself I got really pissed off, my brain gets really sharp and fast and figures the answers. Well, that's true. But when I'm really in a great state, my brain is fast and quick and I enjoy it and people around me enjoy it. So it's also deciding how you're going to be, not just what you're going to do. And I think the combination of those is where the quality of life that people are really looking for shows up.
When force of circumstance upsets your equanimity, lose no time in recovering your self-control, and do not remain out of tune longer than you can help. Habitual recurrence to the harmony will increase your mastery of it. It is my bad luck that this has happened to me. No, you should rather say, it is my good luck that although this has happened to me, I can bear it without pain, neither crushed by the present nor fearful of the future. Because such a thing could have happened to any man, but not every man could have borne it without pain. So why see more misfortune in the event than good fortune in your ability to bear it? The happiness and unhappiness of the rational social animal depends not on what he feels, but on what he does, just as his virtue and vice consist not in feeling, but in doing.
Here's something else for those who make it today. Do what you know is right. Treat people like you want to be treated. Don't try and take any shortcuts. Don't try and cheat. Pay your dues up front. I believe, ladies and gentlemen, what goes around comes around. You can pay now or you will pay double later. So do the right thing. There might be a tendency sometimes, because of the negative part of our consciousness and our own programming, for us to want to say, well, I'll just do it this time. It won't matter. Won't nobody know. Ladies and gentlemen, everything matters. And you know you're somebody. You know. I'd rather lose out on my dream doing the right thing than to cheat trying to make a shortcut to get to my goal. I want to be able to look myself in the mirror. That's what you want to do. There's no saying, judge a man not by what he does, but by that he doesn't have to do. And to judge the true quality of a man is what he'll do when nobody's looking. See, there's some good out there for you in the universe that has your name on it. And nobody can get your good. It has your name on it. They can't take your stuff. It's your stuff. So when you know that whatever you're seeking, it's also seeking you. You don't worry. You don't run scared. You don't think somebody's going to take it from you. You listen to your inner voice and you always take the high road. There will be the tendency, the natural inclination to take the low road. You must resist that. Repeat after me, please. I will always take the high road. And do the right thing, no matter what.
Your mentality is heavily linked to your reality. And the fact that most people have such weak mindsets comes from the fact that they have a weak life A weak body, a weak social circle, a weak network, a weak bank account, a weak relationship, and then their mind is weak. Well, of course. Whereas if you had a group of soldiers around you, men who were dedicated, who would ride or die with you, if you were strong, if your woman would never leave you no matter what because she idolizes you, then your mentality would be strong. Your mind would be strong by extension. So if someone comes to me and goes, I doubt myself, I usually look at them and go, yeah, I understand why. You're a little fat piece of shit. You're stupid. Of course you do.
Excuses sound best to the person that's making them up. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Get off the pity potty. Telling everybody your sad and sob stories, trying to get people to show up to your pity potties and your pity parades. If you ever see me in a Rolls Royce, a 6 or 7-star hotel, living my life to the fullest, don't get jealous of me, because I worked my ass off to get it. Nobody handed me nothing. Wake your ass up. Awaken the beast inside. It's game on. It's go season. It's time for you to take advantage of the access and the resources that you have in your country and your community. You got a problem with your life. You got a problem with your environment. Do something about it. If you want it, go get it.
Every man understands you shouldn't be complaining about things you cannot change. You have to play the cards you're dealt. To be born a certain height and then to sit there and go, what do I do? I'll tell you what you do. You become the best version of yourself, just like everyone else does. Nothing about the height is in and of itself enough value for me to be a valuable man. As a man, you build your value. You are born with the cards you're dealt. Sure, it'd be ideal. Look, I'd love to be 7 foot tall. I'm not. So it's the same argument. If you're 5'2", you need to become rich, strong, and funny, and charismatic, and interesting, and witty. If you're 6'4", you need to become rich, strong, well-connected. It's the same game. So to sit there and complain about it is asinine.
Excuses are for weak people. If you're going to make it happen, get your ass up and get to work.
No more excuses. No more, I'll start tomorrow. No more, just this once. No more accepting the shortfalls of my own will. No more taking the easy road. No more waiting for the perfect moment. And no more indecision and no more lies. No more weakness. Now is the time for strength. And through strength and through will and through unwavering discipline, I will become who I want to be.
If you don't execute, you're not just cheating yourself, dude. You're cheating your family. You're cheating your employees. You're cheating your team, whatever you're a part of. It's bigger than you, man.
Many of you have given control of your life to your feelings. You got to take back control right now. You must harden your fucking mind. You got to discipline yourself. When it's time to rise, you fucking rise. When it's time to work, you fucking work.
You have to just work. At some point, you have to bite the bullet and just work. Working harder is never going to not help. No matter what scenario you're in, working harder is never going to not help you. And it's amazing that I give different versions of the same answer for 99% of the questions I'm asked. Work harder. If you have a problem, whether you're broke, whether you're out of shape, whether your friend dies, whether your girl leaves you, whether you're depressed, whatever it is, working harder is almost always the answer. So you know what you need to do. You need to do it. And what's amazing, again, it's kind of like the antidote. If you take the antidote before the poison, then you never get sick in the first place. If you're always working as hard as possible, if you're always working your ass off and trying to be the best version of yourself every single day, then you never get sick in the first place. You're already working. You're already taking the antidote. So things can't attach to you. They can't get hold of you. Working hard is the antidote to everything. So why don't you just do it in advance? Why don't your life just become work like mine? Why don't you just dedicate yourself to a cause and get up and do what you're supposed to do every single day?
I want to talk to you today because I hope that of all the talks that happen here, you forget about me, but that this changes your life. And I want to remind you of something as I begin today, that you were born to do something great with your life, that you're extraordinary. Listen to me, that you're enough, that you're special, that you're favored, that you're chosen, regardless of where you come from, regardless of what you've been carrying with you. Some of you come in here today, and you know what? You've even thought of harming yourselves. Maybe you're even proud of the fact you haven't killed yourself. But every day, some of us are killing ourselves with the shame we carry from something we've done, some humiliation, some fear. We put this gun to our head every day that tells us we're not enough. we're not strong enough, pretty enough, smart enough, favored enough, that we're doomed. And we carry these guns in our head every day that shame us, that take our confidence from us, that steal our joy. It's like a knife. You don't have to kill yourself because you do it every day. You do it over and over and over again, and there's a better way forward. You can put those things down in your life. You could decide today that you were born to do something great. You could set aside this weapon that you keep using against yourself to hold you back from your joy, from your passion, from your achievement, from all the goodies in life. You could decide today, just intentionally, to set this weapon down, whatever it is. Something from your childhood, a divorce, a business failure, something you're just not proud of that you've done. Set it down. Stop using it as a weapon against yourself and realize that happened for you and not to you. I'll prove it to you. I'm a big believer in fake it till you make it. I don't want you seeing, people say, well, social media is so full of like these fake lives. People have always lived fake lives. I was living a fake life way before social media came along. In fact, when I became an entrepreneur, I wanted to be somebody so bad. I wanted to be rich so bad. I thought, if I don't look successful, no one's going to listen to me. Who's going to listen to a young kid in business about how to save your money when I didn't have any? That was my own limiting belief. What's yours? You have this kind of convoluted limiting belief about why you can't do something right now. That's your own BS story you keep telling yourself. How about you just drop that story? How about you just decide it's a lie, even if it is true? I'm not going to just teach you not to tap into your pain. I'm going to teach you how to do it. Okay, I teach people how to change things technically, but I believe in this concept of living blissfully dissatisfied, which means there's a way. Most achievers have it backwards. They think, hey, if I enjoy my success, I'm going to lose all my drive, right? And then other people that aren't successful yet, haven't reached what they want, or they delay their bliss until a destination in the future. Once I get this relationship, once I make that money, once I get that car, once I have that home, then I'll let myself feel bliss. And so I teach you that the concept is you can live blissfully and still be dissatisfied. Your pathway to changing how you feel about yourself, of getting to the next level, is always giving, always giving, always giving. I have this thing I kind of run my life through that kind of is my governor on my life of when I'm trying to give and when I'm trying to make a difference for people. And I just have this hallucination. I am a Christian, and so I believe that someday when I die, there's an accounting. I don't care if you. I'm actually one of these very interesting people that I believe in the quantum field and energy because I know it exists, and I believe my Lord and Savior created it. You have whatever your belief is wonderful. I don't preach. I just want you to know I know there's an energy field. I know there's a God, and Lewis asked me on the show, what are 3 truths? And I said, the first thing is there's a God. I just want you to know that. So you believe your beliefs. I respect them. I admire them. I have people from every belief center in the world on my program. But I just want to say to you, this is my prism I live my life through. It governs my decision making. And I make mistakes all the time. One of the cool things about being a Christian is I'm saved by the grace of God because I know I'm going to sin. That's one of the cool things about my particular faith. But the point that I want to make, because I sin all the time. I make mistakes all the time. I've already used profanity, I think, 4 times in this talk. So I know for sure I've made some mistakes, but let me tell you how I govern my life. I believe at the end of my life there's an accounting, and I'm going to sit in front of my Lord, and I want him to say, well done, good and faithful servant. But having said that, no matter what your beliefs are, I think that I actually get to meet somebody interesting. Maybe you don't believe in anything faith-based, but I bet you believe there's a recording going on in your life. Someone's paying attention. Someone's going to tell the story of your life. Maybe your great-granddaughter will carry the legacy of your life and what you've done, but someone's paying attention to what you're doing here. You've always had that sense. You've always known your life mattered. You've always known since you were a little girl that there's something special you're supposed to be doing. And that anxiety, that fear you have is maybe you're not doing it.
In life, our first job is this: to divide and distinguish things into 2 categories. Externals I cannot control, but the choice I make with regard to them I do control. Where will I find good and bad? In me, in my choices. Negative visualization, in other words, teaches us to embrace whatever life we happen to be living and to extract every bit of delight we can from it. But it simultaneously teaches us to prepare ourselves for changes that will deprive us of the things that delight us. It teaches us, in other words, to enjoy what we have without clinging to it. Over the years, I have come to realize that the greatest trap in our life is not success, popularity, or power, but self-rejection. Success, popularity, and power can indeed present a great temptation but their seductive quality often comes from the way they are part of the much larger temptation to self-rejection. When we have come to believe in the voices that call us worthless and unlovable, then success, popularity, and power are easily perceived as attractive solutions. The real trap, however, is self-rejection. As soon as someone accuses me or criticizes me, as soon as I am rejected, left alone or abandoned, I find myself thinking, well, that proves once again that I am a nobody. My dark side says, I am no good. I deserve to be pushed aside, forgotten, rejected, and abandoned. Self-rejection is the greatest enemy of the spiritual life because it contradicts the sacred voice that calls us the beloved. Being the beloved constitutes the core truth of our existence. Life is neither a glorious highlight reel nor a monstrous tragedy. Every day is a good day to live and a good day to die. Every day is also an apt time to learn and express joy and love for the entire natural world. Each day is an apt time to make contact with other people and express empathy for the entire world. Each day is perfect to accept with indifference all aspects of being. Persuade me or prove to me that I am mistaken in thought or deed, and I will gladly change. For it is the truth I seek, and the truth never harmed anyone. Harm comes from persisting in error and clinging to ignorance. Let us too overcome all things, with our reward consisting not in any wreath or garland, not in trumpet, calls for silence, for ceremonial proclamation of our name, but in moral worth, in strength of spirit, in a peace that is won forever, once in any contest fortune has been utterly defeated.
How is it that discipline and the straight and narrow offer the best chance for a good life? And how is it that we have forgotten that is the case?
Well, the reason that discipline is necessary is because you're a mass of competing short-term interests. And so the question is then, well, which short-term interests should win out? And the answer to that is, well, none of them. They need to be organized into a hierarchy that makes them functional across time and across individuals. So like a 2-year-old is very likely to act out his or her proximal impulse. But of course, a 2-year-old can't survive in the world. You have to bring your primary instincts, let's say, under the regulatory structure of a higher order value system that allows them to manifest themselves without undue mutual sacrifice across large spans of time in the presence of large numbers of other people. So that requires a very sophisticated ordering. It's like, we already talked about the fact that a meta-narrative is necessary to unite subcultures, say, so that they can operate peacefully and harmoniously within the same space. The same thing applies within you, because you're an internal coalition of warring single-minded tribes, and they have to all be brought under the organizational structure of long-term collective vision, let's say. Mm-hmm. And in order to do that, you have to be disciplined. And any discipline, technically speaking, is an attempt to bring all those competing short-term impulses under a larger scale and more inclusive framework. And so you do that, and then, well, that's actually what gives you freedom. Being impulsive and being free aren't the same things, because if you're impulsive, you're just the slave of your impulses.
Right.
There's no freedom in that. That's the same freedom, so to speak, literally, that a 2-year-old has, because a 2-year-old isn't socialized yet. So it's a completely, that doesn't function in the sophisticated world. It doesn't work.
Right.
Everyone knows it.
So many people dream big dreams, but they never take any action. If you don't believe in yourself, you've already lost the battle. Not believing in yourself is a losing battle because either you won't try at all or you will convince yourself that you can't do it. And when you convince yourself that you can't do it, your results are going to confirm what you believe.
So we are afraid to fail. Why? I told you, man. Just need to try it, dude. Just chill out, relax. Why are you so crazy? Why are you so obsessed? So all that stuff drives the quitting mind, I call it. The mind wants to quit. The mind is tired. The mind thinks it's very deserving. So the biggest problem in this world is other people, not yourself. It's other people in your head. They are puppet mastering you pretty much on your life.
I dare you to give up everything that is keeping you from your dream, to say no to all the negative influences. I dare you to pick up a book instead of a drink. I dare you to work harder than you think you did yesterday. I dare you to prove them wrong. I dare you to prove yourself right.
You must be yourself if you want to experience your true purpose in life. If you're different, be different. Be different and do it with pride. If someone doesn't like it, if many people don't like it, who cares?
Your life would feel better and richer if you had a goal, you chase that goal, you accomplish some things, and you would get this boost of confidence, you'd get this boost of self-esteem, like whatever it is that you're into doing.
The time has come for you to understand that you cannot depend on the opinions of others. You cannot just trust in the opinions of others. You cannot allow other people to validate you, because you are just who you are. Nobody is going to be like you.
You are the author of your autobiography. You write the story of your life. No one can write your financial story. No one can write your spiritual story. No one can write your emotional story but you. The pen has always been in your hand. The pen has always been in your hand. I say write a story that's going to be damn good to read.
But don't let yourself be vulnerable to weakness. Don't let weakness consume you. Don't let hopelessness consume you. Be about your business. Understand that you got to keep living and living strong.
When nobody's looking, when nobody's watching, when nobody understands the measure of passion that you carry, can you keep going? Don't stop! You're right there!
Find something. Find a thing that you genuinely enjoy, because getting good at things you genuinely enjoy is extremely beneficial for young people, because it lets you know that, like, everybody thinks they're a loser. Every young person thinks they're a loser. At least a young person in the situation I was at. Like, I didn't know I wasn't a loser until I started winning, until I started doing martial arts. Martial arts taught me that, like, I could get better at stuff, that I wasn't really a loser. I just was someone who was, like, in a fucked up situation. But you could channel all that energy that you have as a young person into something and get better at it. And then all of a sudden people admired me. I was like, this is crazy. So I went from being someone who was incredibly insecure and basically a failure to someone who was really successful at this one thing that was very dangerous, that other people were scared of. And that gave me immense confidence and also a real understanding of the direct correlation between hard work and success.
And kind of understanding that you're not a loser.
Right.
That there is a diamond in the rough.
Yeah, and also an understanding that you can't listen to people. Because even my parents didn't want me to do martial arts. They didn't want me to fight. They didn't want me to do stand-up. There's like, you have to understand, like, who you are. And then in the face of other people's either criticism or, you know, lack of faith in your ability to succeed, you push through, and there's great benefit in that. And then you realize that you can kind of apply that to other things in life. You can apply that to critics, you can apply that to social media commentators, you can apply that to a lot of things. I don't think people are happy if they don't have puzzles and complex tasks and things that are interesting to them, whether it's an art project or whether it's learning something completely new like stand-up comedy. Like, doing things that are difficult is it's as much of a nourishment of the mind as food is a nourishment of the body. I think you need things that are puzzling to you, where you have to find your own human potential in the difficulty of the task and work your way through things. At least for me. For me, I mean, I can only speak for me because I'm the only life that I've ever lived that I'm aware of. And in my life, that has been 100% constant. I am a very happy person, and I have never had a moment where I'm not doing difficult. Yeah, ever.
What I realized is for me to become the man I wanted to become, I saw myself as the weakest person God ever created. But I never blamed God for anything he did to me. So I wanted to change that to be the hardest man ever created. Am I that? I don't know, but you had to have a goal. And my goal when I was sitting there, not going to school, being bullied, having no self-esteem, my goal was the only person that's gonna turn this person around is me. The only way I can turn it around is put myself through the worst things possible a human being can ever endure. And that'd be the only way that I can build this brain to handle anything that comes in front of it, callousing my mind through pain and suffering. So we read a bunch of books nowadays. As humans, we want to find out how to be someone else. What we don't do is we don't go inside. So literally turn yourself inside out. Read the book that's like we're writing a book every day for life, but we never read that book. So what I would challenge this young man or young woman to do is you have to look inside of yourself and see what you really want. What are you passionate about? We use these words and these little phrases of only the strong survive and all this other crap. They're all words. I get so tired of hearing people just talking. Like right now, someone may think God is just talking. You don't know me. So when I speak from passion. I speak from experience. I speak from suffering. I have to tell this young man or woman that the only way I believe, this is just my experience in life, the only way you're ever going to get to the other side of this journey is you have got to suffer to grow. To grow, you must suffer. And some people will get it, some people won't. But they have to see what their journey is to start their journey. Several people live to be 100 years old, and they have great lives, and they have great kids. Their kids go to college and all sorts of stuff. But somewhere in their life, there was a point where they had a decision to make. They can go left or right on this path. Left was the easy route. Right was the hard route. A lot of people take the easy route. And they had a good life that way, but the better life was going to the right side. And you may have 20 years of pain and suffering to get past it, but a lot of us die never truly starting our journey. And I would tell this young person, you gotta start your journey. It may suck, but it will come out the other side when you're coasting.
Study the values you admire. You learn values by studying them closely. The law of concentration says that whatever you dwell upon grows and increases in your life. What this means is that when you study and read stories about men and women who demonstrated the kind of values that you admire and respect, and then think about those stories and that behavior, those values sink ever deeper into your mind. Once these values are programmed into your subconscious, they create a propensity within you to behave consistently with those values when the situation requires them. For example, in military training, soldiers are continually told stories of courage, obedience, discipline, and the importance of supporting their fellow soldiers. The more they hear these stories, discuss them, and think about them, the more likely they are to behave consistently with these values when they're under the pressure of actual combat. The core virtue of character is truth. Whenever you tell the truth, however inconvenient it may be at the time, you feel better about yourself and you earn the respect of the people around you. One of the highest accolades you can pay another person is to say that he or she always tells the truth. Emulate the people you most admire. Much of your character is determined by the people you most admire. both living and dead. Who are they? Looking over your life and history, make a list of the people whom you most admire, and next to their names, write out the virtues or values that they most represent to you. If you could spend an afternoon with anyone, living or dead, what one person would you choose? Why would you choose that person? What would you talk about during your afternoon together? What questions would you ask, or what would you want to learn? Consider this as well. Why would that person want to spend an afternoon with you? What are the virtues and values that you have developed that make you a valuable and interesting person? What makes you special? Practice the values you respect. You develop values by practicing them whenever they are called for. As the Roman Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, circumstances do not make the man. They merely reveal him to himself. When a problem occurs, people tend to react automatically based on the highest values that they have developed up to that moment. We develop values by repetition, by behaving consistently with a particular value over and over again until it becomes a habit and locks in so that we come to practice it automatically. Men and women with highly developed characters behave in a manner consistent with their highest values, and they do so without thought or hesitation. There is no question in their minds about whether or not they are doing the right thing.
All things are possible if you believe. Well, you know, I studied for a long time. I started to study this book, Think and Grow Rich. And he talks about belief in here. He says, you're not ready for what you want until you believe you can get it. I found that the only two sources of reference we could go to find out anything about ourselves is science and religion. They all say you've got to believe. So I kept figuring out, how do you believe? How do you change a belief? Interesting subject, because I'm going to tell you something. Your results are nothing but the manifestation of your belief system. Well, our belief system, now listen carefully, is based upon our evaluation of something. And frequently, when we reevaluate a situation, our belief about that situation will change.
Seeing yourself make a decision at that point to be resilient, to keep at it, to see the charge come back on your face, to see yourself working through the struggle is the most important visualization you can do. What would you say to yourself when it sucks? Not just see yourself validated. It's about, look, the real truth of achieving any dream is that struggle, that effort, that push.
Every time that you have fallen on your face, or you've tried something and failed, or you've gone out and thought you found the love of your life, and then your heart's broken, and then you pick yourself up again, and then you dust yourself, you're building confidence the entire time, because confidence is not built on the high days. Confidence is built on the low ones. Confidence is built when you are struggling. Because when you see yourself go for something and fall, when you see yourself try and get knocked down, when you see yourself stand back up after getting abused or traumatized or discriminated against and moving ahead, you are building this reserve within yourself where you know you can rely on yourself, you know you can face hard things and you can keep moving forward. You know you have your own back. So it's in there. Your life has been helping you build it. Now you gotta just dig in and tap into it and use it to shut that critic up in your head.
If you fall down 100 times in a day, what does it matter? For a committed man, there is no such thing as failure. If you fall down 100 times, 100 lessons to be learned. If you commit yourself like this to creating what you really care for, now your mind gets organized. Once your mind gets organized, the way you think is the way you feel, your emotion will get organized. Once your thought and emotion is organized, your energies will get organized in the same direction. Once your thought, emotion and energies are organized, your very body will get organized. Once all these four are organized in one direction, your ability to create and manifest what you want is phenomenal. When we say a joyful world, that means everything that you want has happened.
Aristotle wrote in his famous Nicomachean Ethics that the common aim of mankind is to be happy. However, each person defines happiness. One thing we know is that the more confident and the better we feel about ourselves, the happier we are and the more effective we seem to be in everything we do. Self-confidence, however, is really a state of mind based on your belief systems. Belief or faith enables you to act boldly in the face of uncertainty. Confidence enables you to face changes and difficulties and unexpected setbacks with calmness and clarity, and allows you to respond more effectively under any circumstances. The law of belief, an important corollary of the law of cause and effect, says that your beliefs become your realities. You do not believe what you see, but you see what you believe. William James of Harvard said that belief creates the actual fact. In the Bible it says, according to your belief, it is done unto you. If you believe strongly enough and confidently enough, your outer world will tend to conform to a pattern consistent with these beliefs. In fact, your world today is largely an outpicturing of your innermost beliefs and convictions. You behave on the outside based on your beliefs on the inside. You see the world around you based on your beliefs about reality. Regardless of whether they are correct, how can you determine your true beliefs? Simple. You can tell what you really believe by observing what you do and what you don't do. You can tell what you believe by listening to your opinions, your conversations, and by noting your decisions. When you truly believe yourself to be an exceptional human being, possessed of remarkable capabilities, you will walk and talk and act that way, and your inner convictions will become your outer reality. As the Bible says, all things are possible to him that believeth. The law of incremental improvement is your key to an unlimited future of success, prosperity, and self-confidence. It doesn't matter where you are starting from. All that matters is where you are going. As Theodore Roosevelt said, do what you can with what you have, where you are. By applying the law of incremental improvement to yourself and your work, you can begin moving upward toward joining the great ones in your field. If you are doing what you love to do, and you are doing it with all your heart, by engaging in continuous personal and professional improvement, you can begin to move forward at such a rapid rate that it will astonish you. There is one small problem that you need to deal with before you become one of the best in your field. Most of us grow up with feelings of inferiority and inadequacy. Because of low self-esteem and selling ourselves short, many of us never even think about becoming excellent at our work. It never even occurs to us that we have the ability to learn anything we need to learn, to be able to do an outstanding job at anything we put our minds to. The fact is that, generally speaking, you have the capability to excel at anything that is really important to you. If anyone else has achieved a high level of competence in your field, then so can you. All you have to do is to do the same things over and over until sooner or later you get the same results that they have.
I stopped wasting time. That helped a lot. I stopped drinking. I stopped going to bars. I really didn't spend a lot of time with my friends when I had young kids in particular. I had friends and I saw them, with some degree of regularity, but where I cut corners was more with social life outside my family. So I spent a lot of time with my wife, and I spent a lot of time with my kids, and I spent a lot of time on my career. And so you have to make choices. And I think those were reasonable choices. I'm not displeased with them. Don't abandon your friendships, but you can certainly look at where you're wasting time and just stop doing things that you know to be a waste of time. So, and I did. And so I had enough room for my marriage, and I had enough room for my kids, and I had enough room for my career, and sort of a multi-dimensional career. And it was always a challenge to me too, to see how efficient I could get. I concentrated on my marriage and making time for it. I concentrated on spending time with my kids consciously, and I concentrated on developing my career. Those were the three elements of my life. And I had some time left over for creative pursuits and for friends, but most of it was a matter of getting rid of time wastes of any sort, and I just pushed that out of my life, day after day until I wasn't wasting any time, or virtually no time. And, I've asked my undergraduates frequently how much time they waste per day, and general estimates are like 6 to 8 hours of time they regard themselves as wasting. Like, that's a whole career right there, right? So if you just stop wasting time, you can do a tremendous amount, especially if you also try to maximize efficiency. And I always found that incredibly motivating. A motivating game. How much can I do in the least amount of time possible? That's fun to try to do that, as far as I'm concerned. I know, that's maybe undoubtedly a temperamental thing, but But if you're wired that way, that's a great meta strategy. Become efficient.
Results is the name of the game. What other game is there? And I'm telling you, if you'll start with that, it's called the process of life change, and it doesn't matter how small the process is to start. One discipline starts it, and then one discipline feeds another, and the first thing you know, you've got this whole cycle in an upward positive motion. And it's called life change. It's called income change. It's called health change. Relationship with your family change. Equities unprecedented that you can have in numbers that will stagger the imagination if you do not curse what's available and start amending what's possible to get the results that you want. I don't think I can put it in any better. He said, it's not what happens that determines the major part of your future. It's not what happens. What happens to us all. He said the key is what you do about it. It's not what happens, it's what you do. And he said if you will start that process of change, do something different the next 90 days than you did the last 90 days, like picking up the books to read. Do something different like the new health disciplines, relationship with your family, whatever it is, doesn't matter how small it is. You'll start doing different things with the same circumstances. Since we cannot change the circumstances, but we can change ourselves. We can change what we do.
Life is pain. You know how many times I wanted to just give up? How many times I've thought about ending it?
Life is hard. Easy, it's not an option. But it's worth fighting. It's worth believing. It's worth giving yourself a chance. It's worth mustering yourself up, standing up inside yourself. It's worth fighting relentlessly, never giving up. It's worth fighting a good fight. It's worth being around motivated, positive people. It's worth being up-tempo. It's easy to have faith and feel good when you're feeling good and you have no pain and your bills are paid and you got a clean bill of health from the doctor. It's easy to be motivated then. But when that's not the situation, it's hard. When you look in the mirror, you don't see the person that you once saw. It's hard. I know it's hard, but do it hard.
You gotta go all the f in. When there's a will, there's a way, and there's always a way. When you're committed, you don't care about the facts. You don't care about the odds. You don't care about the opinions of others. The only thing you care about is making it through to the other f***ing side. No matter what it takes. You just gotta keep searching, keep fighting, keep hammering, keep failing, keep trying, keep getting back up again, and stop at nothing to reach it.
You gotta have mental toughness. You don't give up on me. You don't quit on me. You man up. You woman up. You get your life back. You get your family back. I need you to have mental toughness. When you come up against that thing, you gotta outlast it. And you gotta already have made up your mind before you get to cancer. You gotta already have made up your mind before you get to that exam. You gotta already have made up your mind when you're talking to your husband, when you're talking to your wife, when you're talking to that sickness. You gotta look at it before you even get to it. So don't you ever give up.
You get to make a choice. Is failure going to break you, or is failure going to make you? You get to decide. Failure doesn't. It's okay to fall. It's okay to cry. It's okay to go home. But quitting should never be an option. It's not in falling that makes us failures. It's in not getting up that makes us failures. And you get to decide if you get up or you don't get up.
I can accept failure. Everyone fails at some point. I cannot accept not trying. I don't feel rejected. I tried. How do you feel rejected when you try? The person who didn't try should feel rejected. The person that didn't try should feel defeated. I tried. I don't feel rejected. I feel good about myself. I don't feel bad. I gave it 120%. You can't never feel bad when you put forth 120%. You can't let the outcomes make you feel whack. I'm not whack. I'm a warrior. I'm a problem solver. I'm not soft. I'm not weak. I don't quit. I don't give up. I don't surrender. I don't always win, but I always try. When you believe with everything in you that you are destined for greatness, you will find a way. You turn a tragedy into a triumph, despair into repair, pain into gain, adversity into prosperity. You have to know that this thing is going to work. Come hell or high water, whatever it is that I set out to do, it may not happen in 6 months, it may not happen in a year, it may not happen in 2 years, but at some point, my dream is going to become a reality. I think about my why. I can't quit. I can't stop. I can't get tired. I can't give up. I can't give in. My mama counting on me. My wife is counting on me. When you ain't got nothing left in your tank, you got to think about the people in your life that you doing this for. And then if you could think about them, you could go one more mile. You could go one more day at work. You keep going. You keep studying. You keep writing. You keep singing. You keep rapping. You keep boxing. You keep fighting. You keep dribbling. You just keep on keeping on. And if you persevere, every storm that's come, it will pass.
Do you know abundance is our birthright? Abundance is our birthright, and everywhere you look, you see abundance. Everywhere you look. There's an abundance of leaves on the trees. There's an abundance of snow in the ground. There's an abundance of water in the universe. There's an abundance everywhere you go, and you and I have the ability to create an abundance. Now you take nothing with you, you'll never own anything. You arrive with nothing, you're going to leave the same way. It's like somebody said, you come in with no hair and no teeth, no money, that's the way you leave. But while you're here, you can enjoy an abundant life. You can have all of whatever it is you want, but you have to earn it. Now, what would abundance be in your life? What would abundance be? To one person, it may be different than to another. But understand this, it all starts in our mind. Most people are letting what they have now control how they see themselves. They let their bank account control them. They let the friends they have control them. They let their conditions or circumstance control. That's not where we want to go. We want to go inside. Everything starts from the inside out. So let's start over. Let's start over. If life isn't the way you want it now, make up your mind, you're going to start over. You're going to sit down, you're going to write out how you do want it. Now we want abundance. We want an abundance of friends. We want an abundance of money. We want an abundance of all the good things in life that make us more comfortable and have us enjoy life to a greater degree. And you know, we can have it, but we've got to understand we can have it. We've got to understand that we have infinite potential locked up within us. We've got a marvelous mind. We can think anything we want. You know, Viktor Frankl spent the war years in a concentration camp. And he said, regardless of the intellectual or physical abuse he was subjected to, no one could cause him to think something he didn't want to think. All the great leaders, all down through history, they have been complete, unanimous agreement. We become what we think about. Well, don't think lack and limitation. Think abundance in whatever you want. See yourself with plenty, with abundance. Hold the image and then just think, how can I get this? By continually seeing yourself with it, the way to get it will start to come to your mind. You will attract whatever you need because you're getting on an abundant frequency, and it'll all start coming into your life. As you move towards it, it'll come towards you. Abundance, it's your birthright. You've got to decide on it. Enjoy it.
You know, if you can survive the temporary pain in your life, and all pain is temporary, if you can survive the temporary, on the other side of temporary pain, you meet another version of yourself, another insight about yourself. And that's why it's so important to grow as a person, because the more we grow and become a new person, we can help those that used to be like us. And that's why you and I are so addicted to growing and learning, and we're curious, because if you used to be a broken person and you no longer are quite as broken, you can help broken people. If you used to be broke financially, and you no longer are. You can help people, whatever you do for a living. At one time you didn't know about it, and now you do. You can help those who need to know about it. And so you're immensely qualified if you understand the power of doing one more. 95% of people have an operating system in their mind where they operate out of history and memory. 5% of humans operate out of vision and imagination. So the reason we're so much happier, I believe, when we're children is we have no history and memory. So we operate out of imagination and dreams and vision. But at some age, some people it's 5 years old, some it's 8, some it's 18, some it's 28, they create a history, and that history then becomes the operating system. So even if they take on a new behavior or tactic, they're operating out of a pattern of thought and belief that's historic and memory-based. And so the number one thing I would say is begin to operate out of your imagination again, out of your vision again. Create from that place. If you create from that place, now you're not tied to the result in that moment. You're giving yourself space to imagine and create something new in your life. You're the product of who you hang around. How do I know if they serve me or not? Here's one way to just deduce this, because they could be beautiful people who care about you, and they might even support you. But when you're with them, what are you ever have those friends you're with them, you're like, you remember when, you remember that party, remember that thing? Yeah. And if your friends are constantly bringing you to the filtration system of memory and history all the time, think this through. How often are those friends saying, hey, what are you working on now? Where are you going? What's your vision? What do you want to create? And maybe that sounds hokey, but you and I have both our friends have the most amazing histories, and you can't get them to talk about them. No. You have to work, because what are they still doing? Yeah. They're talking about now and where they're going. Yeah. Their viewpoint in their life is being present and having a vision for the future. Yeah. A formula for misery, a formula for lack of creativity, lack of productivity is constantly being history and memory. Even if it's good, it doesn't serve us. And for most of us, it's not good. And we keep living from it or trying to move away from it. Create a new future. Don't move away from the past. Create a brilliant, imaginative, curious, vibrant vision for your life. Love for something is in the present moment also, right? Love is not just for the past. And it's funny how important one day is, man. When my dad got sick, my dad got cancer. When he first got sick, he goes, hey, my dad was a dude. He goes, look, I'll fight this one time. Okay, I'll do your little chemo and your surgery, but I'm not gonna pour poison into my body. I'm not gonna lose my hair. I'm not gonna deteriorate. I'll give this thing a shot once. If it doesn't work, I'm out. That led to 8 years of him fighting it. Chemo, radiation, proton therapy, surgery, chemo, experimental chemo, and he did lose his hair, and he was in pain. And I'd say to my dad, I say, Dad, you're suffering so much. You said you wouldn't suffer. He said, no, Eddie, I'm in pain, but I'm not suffering. I choose not to suffer. And I'm not suffering because I get to see my grandkids again. And I said, Dad, why are you doing this? And he said, you only understand the power of one day when you're threatened with never having another one. I'll do anything for one more day. Get to be with you one more time. Give your mom a kiss one more time. Maybe I'll see one of my granddaughters get married. And he goes, I'll do anything for one more day. And when we begin to think of our life that way, the power of right now and having one more moment and one more minute is so beautiful. It's so blessed. It's so big. It's so amazing. Why would we spend that minute in history? Why would we spend that minute in the past when we could be fully present in creating the future?
If you live long enough, a lot of stuff will come against you.
Somebody in your family gonna die. Somebody in here gonna get fired. Somebody here gonna get an eviction notice. Somebody gonna get laid off. Somebody company gonna close. Somebody you love gonna break up with you. That's life. But what you gonna do about it though?
Life has a way of humbling you. Life will make you shut up. Life will mute you. Shut you down. Because all of us, if you live long enough, will go through a period of feeling so overwhelmed that you think of one more thing, if the phone rings one more time, if I get another text, if I get another email, and sooner or later you feel, oh God, just get me out of this.
If somebody came and knocked you down, boom, and ain't nothing you can do about it. But if I come back a week later and you still on the ground, we got a problem. And some of you say, Eric, it ain't my fault. You right. The way you were born, what happened to you is not your fault. But doggone it, you still on the ground after 20 years? You have absolutely nothing to do with what happened to you. It's not your fault. You got knocked on the ground. You had absolutely nothing to do with that. And I'm not blaming you for that. But if I come back a week later, you still on the ground, that's your fault. If I come back a year later, you still on the ground, that's your fault. If you get knocked down, there's nothing you can do about it. But getting back up has every single thing to do with you. And you will promise me that from this day forward, you will not be defeated. You don't belong at the bottom, and it's time for you to get your butt from down there. It's time for you to stop being comfortable at the bottom. Get your butt up and get to where you're supposed to be.
The difference is not the genetic code, the potential. It's a guy that's willing to get knocked down, finally test on fortune, stand back up, the perseverance to see it through, the never say die attitude. And I go in there, man, and if I don't win, I showed up, I gave my valid effort. And tomorrow I'll do the same thing. And I'll continue to throw shit against the wall. Every day I'll throw more up there, try it again, and I'll never get comfortable.
It's necessary that you take charge, that you begin to stand up inside of yourself, that you dry your tears and you're not given the luxury of feeling sorry for yourself, that you got to get in a fighting mode. You can't surrender. You can't be a chump. You got to fight back. You got to stand up and start. So wait a minute, what is it I need to do? You got to make yourself move even if it hurts. Many people have been written off and said, this one won't survive. And they did. It's possible. You've got to believe in your heart of hearts that it's possible that you can beat this. Your belief, your faith, your drive, your determination, your persistence, your perseverance, your spirit. Greater is he that is in you than what's out here in this world. So you've got to decide, you've got to say, it's possible that I can beat this. And it's necessary that I do this. In spite of the pain and the conditions, you've got to mobilize your mind and your spirit. There's nothing as powerful. It's a made-up mind.
You want affirmation, look yourself in the mirror and say, I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. I know I can.
We're built to walk uphill. And when you reach the pinnacle of the hill, you want to stop and appreciate the vision, but the next thing you want is a higher hill in the distance, because it's the uphill climb that it's from the uphill climb that we derive our value. And I mean this technically. So almost all the positive emotion we feel, especially the emotion that fills us with enthusiasm, and that's to be filled with the Spirit of God, by the way, because that's what enthusiasm means. That's experienced in relationship to a goal. And so in some sense, and this is part of the religious enterprise, you want a goal that you can never attain. Right? So you can always move closer to the goal that recedes as you move towards it. You think, well, that's frustrating. It's like Sisyphus pushing the rock uphill. But it's not, because as you pursue that goal, you put yourself together and your life does get better and richer and more abundant. And that's why the highest levels of virtue and goal are in some sense transcendent. You want them to be above everything you're doing so you can continually move towards something that's more sublime and better. That's what you are. You're here to live, not to sleep. And the problem with the vision of Mai Tais on the beach is that, well, first of all, that's a vision of drug-induced unconsciousness. Second, it's only going to work for about a week. Third, you're going to be a laughingstock in a month and depressed and aimless and goalless. You want a horizon of ever expanding possibility. And so it does happen to people because they've staked their soul on the attainment of an instrumental goal. And it can be a pretty high order goal, but then you think, well, now I'm there, now what? Well, the answer can't be, well, I'm going to live in the lap of luxury and never have to leave the what do you want to be, a giant infant with a gold with a gold bottle. You never have to do anything but lay in your back and suck. It's like, well, you see the problem with that as a conceptualization. It's no, you want to be like an active warrior moving uphill with your sword in hand. And that's dynamic, that's exciting. And that's why so many young men disappear into video games. That's all acted out in the video game. So they have to act that out in their own life. Not that I despise video games, because I don't, but they're not a substitute for life. They might be good training under some conditions for life.
See, as human beings, why? The only reason why we are dominating every other creature, including massive creatures, much bigger than us, more powerful, faster, quicker, in strength, in capabilities, why we are dominating all of them is our ability to use tools, isn't it? So do not underestimate the power of the tools. If I ask you to unscrew this screw in this furniture, you try with your hands, your fingers, your fingernails, they will all break and bleed, but the screw stays right there. I give you a little screwdriver, but you don't know how to use. You poke it here, poke it here, poke it here, poke it here. No use. Only if you put it right there and use it the way you must use it, suddenly another world, isn't it? Right now, the greatest tools that we have in our hand is our own body, our mind, our emotions, our energy. These are our tools. If you harness these tools well, you will live wonderfully. If you don't harness them, you will live badly. If these tools turn against you, you will live terrible. Right now, what is it that human beings are largely suffering? No great amount of suffering is coming to you from outside. Everything is on self-help, isn't it? Poking yourself. Why? Because we gave you a sharp mind. If we had given you the brains of an earthworm, you would also be very peaceful. But to develop this level of cerebral capability, it took millions of years of evolution to get you here, isn't it? I want you to just imagine from a single celled amoeba to make you like this, how much work. And now you suffer this result. Essentially, what you're suffering is your own cerebral activity, isn't it? You have an intelligence for which you don't have a stable enough base, so it's poking you. Instead of being useful to you, it is poking you simply because this base is not stable. So one thing is to create a stable base so that this intelligence works for you.
We have a huge frontal lobe, and it's 40% of our entire brain. And most people, when they have a thought, they just think that that's the truth. And I think one of my greatest realizations in my own journey was just because you have a thought doesn't necessarily mean it's true. So if you think 60 to 70,000 thoughts in one day, and we do, and 90% of those thoughts are the same thoughts as the day before, and you believe that your thoughts have something to do with your destiny, your life's not going to change very much, because the same thought leads to the same choice leads to the same behavior creates the same experience, and the same experience produces the same emotion. And so then the act of becoming conscious of this process to begin to become more aware of how you think, how you act, and how you feel. It's called metacognition. And so then, why is that important? Because the more conscious you become of those unconscious states of mind and body, the less likely you're going to go unconscious during the day. And that thought is not going to slip by your awareness unchecked, because it means to know thyself. The word meditation means to become familiar with. So as you become familiar with the thoughts, the behaviors, and the emotions of the old self, you're retiring that old self. As you fire and wire new thoughts and condition the body into a new emotional state, if you do that enough times, it'll begin to become familiar to you. So it's so important, just like a garden. If you're planting a garden, you got to get rid of the weeds. You got to take the plants from the past year and you got to pull them out. The rocks that sift to the top that are like our emotional blocks, they have to be removed. The soil has to be tenderized and broken down. You have to make room to plant a new garden. So primarily, we learn the most about ourselves and others when we're uncomfortable. Because the moment you move into that uncomfortable state, normally a program jumps in. When that program jumps in, it's because the person doesn't want to be in the present moment and engage it consciously. So when you teach people how to do that with a meditative process, it turns out that when they're in their life, they're less likely to emotionally react. They're less likely to be so rigid and believe the thoughts they were thinking. They're more aware of when they go unconscious back into a habit, and that is what starts the process of change. And so we have to unlearn before we relearn. We have to break the habit of the old self before we reinvent a new self. We have to prune synaptic connections and sprout new connections. We have to unfire and unwire and refire and rewire. We have to unmemorize emotions that are stored in the body, and then recondition the body to a new mind and to a new emotion, like deprogram and reprogram. That's the act, and it's a two-step process.